deal. Good afternoon. As you can see, we're currently awaiting quorum, so thank you for being here today and ready to go. And as soon as 2 members of the committee arrive, we will begin our meeting. Good afternoon. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Community Development Committee for today, which is the 26th of September. I've been joined by council members Quincy, Fry, and Reich, who I will thank for being here today to allow for us to have a quorum. We will move first with our consent agenda, which are items 9 through 21. I don't know if there's any items anyone would like to pull off the consent agenda. They include our business and license operating conditions, our regular business and liquor and gambling licenses, and a number of other administrative items. I will note item 15 is the appointment of Faith Young, Seat 8, Ward 5, for a 3-year term to the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority. Other than that item, I don't believe there are other items of note. Anything anyone would like to pull? Seeing none, I'll move the consent agenda, items 9 through 21. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those items are approved. Then it will move on to our public hearing agenda, which is items 1 through 8, beginning with item number 1. Mr. Ramadan, welcome.
Madam Chair, council members, committee members, our first item is 2125 Aldrich Avenue North for the sale of this property through Minneapolis Homes with policies and procedures established by the City Council on December 11, 2015. This property was acquired on June 8, 2016 from Hennepin County as tax forfeited land for its appraised value of $1. Previously, 2125 Aldrich Avenue North was sold to Beneficial Investments, but they withdrew their offer last year. Staff remarketed and reviewed 7 applications received in accordance with the manual and recommends the sale of 2125 Aldrich Avenue North to Fartoon Muhammad for its appraised value of $10,000. If Fartoon Muhammad fails to close, staff recommends Asha Uma as the alternate purchaser. As we mentioned, this property was constructed in 1896 and is 3,803 square feet, 7-bedroom, 2-bath duplex. Fartoon Muhammad intends to rehabilitate the property as a 7-bedroom, 2-bath duplex home by investing $130,000 to live in as the owner-occupant. Asha Uma intends to spend $145,600 to rehab the property as a 7-bedroom, 4-bath duplex or convert it to single-family for owner-occupancy if the budget allows. Fartoon Muhammad is recommended as a purchaser as the highest scoring applicant for the property, with Asha Uma as the second highest scoring applicant. The Hawthorne Neighborhood Association received notification on May 10, 2017. They also ranked the proposals from Fartoon Muhammad and Asha Uma in the same order. And Fartoon Muhammad is here with us today and also available to answer any questions from the committee. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions for Mr. Ramadan on item number 1? Thank you for your report. This is a land sale on item number 1, which is a land sale at 2125 Aldrich Avenue North to Fartoon Muhammad. Is anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Fartoon Muhammad. I live 7804 Unit Avenue, Brooklyn back. I actually try to beat the house because I'm the single mother. I have 3 kids, and I would like to make my home in Minneapolis. I have also business in Minneapolis, and I work, so I just want to make sweet home in Minneapolis. So that's why.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for being here today.
Welcome.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move approval of the land sale item number 1.
Item number 1 has been moved for approval. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Congratulations and welcome. We'll move on to item number 2. Mr. Ramadan.
Item number 2, the land sale of 3027 DuPont Avenue North. This property was acquired June 22nd, 2016 from Hennepin County as tax forfeited land for its appraised value of $1. The staff marketed and reviewed 6 applications received in accordance with the manual, and we recommend the sale of 3027 DuPont Avenue North to A Vision LLC for its appraised value of $1,000. This property was constructed in 1900 and is a 2,370 square foot, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, single-family home. A Vision LLC intends to rehabilitate the property as a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, single-family home by investing $128,500 to be sold exclusively to owner occupants. A Vision is recommended as a purchaser for scoring higher with stronger financing, a more complete scope of work, and more experience at completing projects. The Hawthorne Neighborhood Association received notification on May 10th, 2017. They recommended Ibiza LLC, but staff did not concur because of capacity concerns with the number of projects currently not on schedule. Bruce Barron of A Vision LLC is here today and available to answer questions as well. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions for Mr. Ramadan on item number 2? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on the land sale at 3027 DuPont Avenue North to A Vision. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record. You're going by A Vision now?
The same as before.
Oh, wow, I
Madam
didn't
Chair.
know that, Mr. Barron. Welcome.
Can't put it in your own name. Madam Chair, Councilman, it's a pleasure to be before you again. The last time we spoke, my address is 2101 Emerson Avenue North, which it was a reclaimed property from this very program. When I first went into the property after onboarding it, pursuant to closing, I wanted to give it back to you. And
No give back.
instead, I moved in. We're kind of excited about the property that's at 3027 DuPont. It reminds me of a type of home my grandparents have over in Highland Park. There's a lot of work to do, some structural issues to deal with, and it'll, I think, turn out to be a very, very fine home for a family up in that Lowry corridor. So we're pleased to have the opportunity. We're glad we're recommended.
Thank you so much for all the work you're doing on the north side and for being here today. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move approval of item number 2.
Item 2 has been moved for approval. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 3. Mr. Ramadan.
Item number 3 is 2127 Aldrich Avenue North. This property was acquired on December 29, 2016 from Hennepin County as tax forfeited land for its appraised value of $30,000. The staff marketing received 4 applications and we're recommending the sale of 2127 Aldrich Avenue North to Issa Gede for its appraised value of $30,000. The property was constructed in 1900 as a 2,808 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath duplex. Issa Gede intends to rehabilitate the property to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home by investing $83,000 to live in as the owner-occupant. Issa Gede is recommended as the purchaser for scoring higher with stronger financing, a more complete scope of work, and a more experienced general contractor. The Hawthorne Neighbor Association received notification on May 10, 2017, and they also recommended the proposal for Mr. Issa Gede. Mr. Gede is here today and available to answer any questions from the committee. Are there any questions of me?
Are there any questions for Mr. Ramadan on item number 3? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open up the public hearing on item number 3, which is a land sale at 2127 Aldrich Avenue North to Issa Gede. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi everyone, my name is Issa Gede. I have business in Minneapolis, and I would like to make Minneapolis home with my kids. I'm father of 8 kids, so you will see how my kids will appreciate to have home in Minneapolis. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here today. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Quincy.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move approval of item 3.
Item 3 has been moved for approval. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to our public hearing agenda with regard to liquor licensing and business licensing. Mr. Wilson with item number 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 4 is an application by the Hill Valley Cafe. They're located at 3301 Central Avenue Northeast, and they're seeking an on-sale wine with strong beer license, Class C2. The Hill Valley Cafe has been housed at this address since 2014. Previous to that, this was the home of the Columbia Grounds Cafe. Hill Valley Cafe has interior seating for 30 and exterior seating for 25, generally open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Bradley Shalhoub is the owner, 100% owner of this company. Public hearing is required for this application. We notified all residents and property owners within 600 feet of the property. We also notified the Waite Park Neighborhood Association and the Northeast Minneapolis River District. We received no responses for or against this application. We find that it meets all of our requirements, and staff's recommendation is that the application be approved.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 4? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 4, which is a new license for Hill Valley Cafe. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Brad Shalhoub. Me and my wife run Hill Valley Cafe. She used to work there when it was Columbia Grounds. I think that was like around 2005. We moved back to Minneapolis about 3 years ago, and we're lucky enough to acquire the cafe. We've gotten to know the neighborhood since we've been there, and people really, it used to have beer and wine when it was Columbia Grounds, and we hear from a lot of people that they miss those days and what the cafe was back then. They still enjoy it now, but beer and wine is something that we hear from quite a few people in the neighborhood that they're looking forward to. So I put in the application today.
Well, great. Thank you very much for being here today. I'll definitely have to try it out. Is there anyone here else to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Ike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with the staff recommendation. I'll move the item, and I'll just note that finally we can have a complete cross-country skiing experience at the Columbia Golf Course across the way. Because after you have a nice ski, you need the cool, refreshing beer. So thank you. Your community service is laudable.
Further comments or questions? Seeing none on Councilmember Ike's motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 5. Mr. Wilson.
Madam Chair, we have an application by Sphere LLC, doing business as Sphere Restaurant. They're locating at 100 South 5th Street, Suite 150. They're seeking an on-sale liquor license Class E. And there's not been a previous on-sale alcohol establishment at this particular location in the past. This is downtown in the B4 zoning district. They have seating inside for 56 persons and no outside area at this time. The applicants have extensive experience in owning and operating restaurants and liquor establishments in Minneapolis, such as the Atlas Grill and the Hemisphere Restaurant Group. This is in the 5th Street Tower building. They will have 2,956 gross square feet. Public hearing is required for this application. We notified all residents and property owners within 450 feet. Also the Downtown Minneapolis Neighborhood Association and the Warehouse District Business Association. We received one response from that notification of today's public hearing, and that was in support of the application. I find the application meets all of our requirements and recommend that the application be approved.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 5? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 5, which is the new business license for Sphere. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. Ken Cole, and I'm representing Sphere. We also operate Atlas Grill, Good to Go, Mission. We're looking to open Sphere in about 4 weeks and have kind of a quick service counter lunch along with a full service side in the bar, and then over happy hour, small plates and appetizers.
Great. Thank you for being here today. As you might imagine, I know you well.
All right. Thank you.
I'm not sure what that says. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry, there are none in your ward today, which is an unusual situation because normally all of them are in your ward. So I will defer to you for the motion to approve.
Well, I'm happy to finally bring them to the 3rd ward. I do move approval.
On the motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 6. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have an application by the Sprout Salad LLC, doing business as Sprout Salad Company. They're at 309 Huron Boulevard Southeast.
Is that right?
They are seeking an on-sale wine and strong beer Class A and a sidewalk cafe license. They currently operate as a plain restaurant at this site today. This is in the Prospect Park East River Road neighborhood and in the 2nd ward. They have interior seats for 38 persons and exterior seating for 6 additional, generally open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. The owners are Dmitry Kenensberg and Daniel Gitzevich. This will be a full-service restaurant, and therefore they'll qualify for the on-sale wine license. A public hearing is required. We notified all persons and property owners within 600 feet, plus the Prospect Park East River Road Neighborhood Association and the Stadium Village Commercial Association. We received no responses for or against the application. We find that this application meets all of our requirements and recommend that the application be approved.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 6? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 6, which is a license for Sprout Salad Company. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. I'm Dmitry Kenningsberg, one of the owners of Sprout. We're a local concept based out of Minneapolis. We have 3 locations. The location in question is our most current one. We think the liquor license will add a nice complement to our current menu, which consists of salads, wraps, and bowls.
Well, great. Thank you for being here today, and we wish you good luck. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to move approval of this item.
Approval has been moved of item number 6. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 7. Mr. Wilson.
Madam Chair, we have an application by the Venn Brewing Company, LLC, doing business as Venn Brewing. Their new address will be 3550 46th Street East, Suite 140. They are seeking an on-sale liquor license with Sunday sales for a tap room, Class C1 entertainment, and off-sale malt liquor growler sales. This is in the Erickson neighborhood in the 12th Ward. They will have interior seats in their tap room for 102 persons and no exterior area at this time. The applicant is Ven Brewing LLC, a Minnesota company formed in 2016. Principal owners are Kyle Cisco and Jed Taylor, and some other minority owners. The applicant will have live music. The applicant has applied for a C1 entertainment license, which allows up to 5 amplified musicians, and the zoning district supports this level of entertainment. Public hearing is required because this is in a newly built building. Notices were mailed to residents and property owners within 600 feet of this property. We also notified the Standish Erickson Neighborhood Association and the West of the Rail Business Association. We received 2 responses from that notice of today's public hearing. Both were in support of the application. We also find that it meets all of our requirements and recommend approval.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 7? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 7, which is a tap room license for Ven Brewing at 3550 46th Street East. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, thank you for having us. I'm Connie Cisco. This is my husband, Kyle Cisco.
Hi.
We are owners of Ven Brewing Company, and we're very excited about putting down roots in South Minneapolis. We want to be a family-friendly brewery, tap room at the corner of 46th and Hiawatha. One of the primary objectives for us is to become a part of the surrounding community. Ven means friend in Norwegian, and we intend on making friends with our neighbors. We will welcome friends from all walks of life and intend for our brewery to be a place for casual gatherings, enjoying the company of family and friends with a local beer. And that's all.
That's great. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to move approval of this item. I'm sure you will all both make a wonderful addition to the neighborhood there. Thanks.
On Councilmember Fry's motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Our final item of the day is item number 8. Ms. Keller, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, council members. I'm Kim Keller, Regulatory Services. I have a technical amendment before you today that would simplify operations and reduce confusion in our administrative hearing program. Current ordinance states that administrative fines need to be either paid or appealed within 20 days. However, late fees are only applied after 25 days. And so both dates are on the notices. This creates the appearance of 2 due dates. The amended language before you syncs the dates using 25 days as the standard.
Are there any questions for Ms. Keller on this administrative change? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 8, which is an administrative and enforcement hearing process change as noted by Ms. Keller. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of staff recommendation on item number 8.
Item number 8 has been moved for approval. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Seeing no further business before us.
Madam Chair?
Oh, I'm sorry. I took up.
Did we deal with the addendum item?
My consent agenda, I set up to item 21.
Okay. Well, it's certainly a quasi judicial hearing. If we're not able to hear today, we could continue the matter, but since it would expose us to liability if we weren't.
I'm sorry. I assumed since it was at the bottom under addendum, it meant it could be included under consent since it doesn't say public hearing.
Understandable, certainly understandable reading of the agenda, but after reviewing it, it certainly would qualify as a quasi judicial hearing, and so the
Well,
option.
good. Since it's quasi judicial, I will turn it over to Councilmember Fry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have one item on the agenda for today, which is the addendum, item number 21. Mr. Fussy, who's speaking on this item?
I believe that Scott Box or Wayne Murphy will be addressing.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm here today to ask you to consider the adoption of the findings of the nuisance condition process review panel to uphold the director's order to raise and remove the building located at 3950 Sheridan Avenue North, and to approve the demolition of the property. Some history on the property. On April 14th, 2017, a director's order to raise the property was sent to Glen Bulk, the owner. In the appeal filed by Mr. Bakavoy, he stated the city did not follow its own ordinances or laws and that there was an improper taking without eminent domain action. The matter came before the Nuisance Condition Process Review Panel on July 20th, 2017, and again on August 17th, 2017. At the July 20th, 17 hearing, the owner, Glen Bakavoy, indicated that he was willing to work with the city to complete a code compliance inspection to determine the extent of the repairs needed to bring the property up to code. The matter was continued until August for Mr. Bakavoy to complete the code compliance inspection, have a written plan in place, demonstrate the financial capabilities of the plan, and a timeline as to when the permits would be pulled and the project completed. At the August 17, 2017 hearing, the owner indicated that he had not completed the code compliance inspection, had no plan in place for rehabilitation, and had not demonstrated that he had the financial capability to rehab the property. The property, located at 3950 Sheridan Avenue North, is a single-family dwelling in the Victory neighborhood. It is a 1.5-story structure that was built in 1914. The building is 1,675 square feet and sits on a 5,122 square foot lot. The property has been determined to be substandard, dilapidated from lack of maintenance, and is condemned for being boarded. The estimated cost to rehab the property is between $65,000 to $93,000 based on the mean square footage estimate. In 2017, the assessed value of the property was $66,000. CPEC contract appraiser has determined the estimate aftermarket rehab value of the property to be $145,000. Estimated cost to demolish the structure is between $12,000 and $20,000. The Victory Neighborhood Association and owners of the property within 350 feet of the property were mailed requests for community impact statements. The department received 7 responses. 4 stated the property has a negative impact on the community and should be demolished. 2 stated it should be repaired or renovated, and 1 was concerned about the safety and the wildlife that is attracted to the property. The Nuisance Condition Process Review Panel recommends the building located at 3950 Sheridan Avenue North be demolished so that it no longer constitutes a nuisance condition.
Yeah, would you mind showing some pictures on the screen of the property in question? Do you have any?
Yeah, pull those up. If you bear with me a minute,
Is there any specifically you want to have? It's a PDF, Chair, but I can do this.
there would be quite a few in this file. The city did do a clean out of the property in March of this year, at which time I believe it was 5 30-yard dumpsters had been removed from the property.
So these are mostly trash photos. Do we have photos of the structure itself?
There should be structure pictures of the inside structure.
There we go. I got it.
Is that right?
More interior after that?
So I think that you said the value was 66,000.
That is correct.
The value of the property as a whole is 66.
Today, as property sits, would be 66,000 with the structure intact.
Okay, and I think you mentioned that it would be between 60 and 90 to refurbish?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay. All right.
To refurbish, the estimated cost would be $65,000 to $93,000.
Thank you. All right, do we have any further questions for staff at this point?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Fuss?
I just might add quickly, I have not personally been involved with this case of this property. I see that there was some assertion of a defense of some sort of imminent domain. I would note that this ordinance, Chapter 249, the nuisance ordinance, has been tested by the Minnesota courts and has withstood legal scrutiny, and I don't believe that imminent domain would be an issue in this matter at all. It would be simply an exercise of your ordinance duties to determine whether this fits the definition of a nuisance property. I would submit that it's pretty indisputable that it does on multiple grounds, and then your option at that time is whether the property should be rehabilitated or raised. It appears that the homeowner has been given multiple opportunities to address the issues, and that has not happened. And therefore, it's just a straight exercise of your ordinance authority in terms of making a determination as to what should happen with this property. Thank you.
Mr. Fussy, does the question of ability to rehabilitate go into the classification of nuisance? So in other words, if you are able to rehabilitate, does that make it less likely that it would be a nuisance and vice versa?
Yes, I would say that that's correct. There are a number of factors that the ordinance lists in terms of making a determination as to whether a nuisance property should be raised or rehabilitated. And it talks about specifically the structural condition, the availability of funds, and potential for rehabilitation of the owner, severity and history of neglect, and it goes on. The estimated cost of rehabilitation, obviously, and the market potential for the property, along with a number of other factors, which have all been addressed in the findings that are before you as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fussy. And this requires a public hearing in the normal form, and acknowledgement at the beginning applies?
Yes.
Okay. Any further questions for staff at this point? Seeing none, I will open up the public hearing. Does either the owner or the representative or the individual looking to, I guess, purchase, are they available today?
I do see him in the audience.
Okay. Sir, would you like to speak? Please state your name and your address for the record.
My name is Glen Bulk, the owner of the property of 3950 Sheridan, and I wanted to express the issue here because the first group of people that had the hearing said that they all voted against saving it and they wanted to demolish it. In my tenure, I grew up there till I was 19 years old. I've been probably one of the longest people in living there in the block. Got married, lived a few mile away, came back because my mother got sick, and so I took care of her for 5 years. And she had a grant once so that I put the electricity in, brand new service, 100 amp. So I'm not some person that just doesn't care. I didn't have a contractor put it in, I put it in. The furnace was okay. It's the old gravity furnace. Now it's been replaced by the Obama Act or whatever you want to call it because they gave money to put it in so it functioned reliably and economically. So the house is not a junker. It's an old house like most houses in Minneapolis are. It's not the oldest one. It's not the newest one. But the problem is with the inspection department, and I realize these guys got to have a job, and the neighbors are another problem because they don't agree with me. I like maintenance in my yard where my grass is about that high and laying down nice and green. They cut their lawn every so often and want it like a cemetery, as I call it. That's not my problem, as long as I keep it in the, like he was saying about ordinances where that everything is not a problem. But they create problems. The city creates problems. I'm not here to condemn the city totally. I'm saying that they don't work with me. That first committee, they want like $500 to have them tell me what to do. I know what to do, but they
broke into my house, broke the door, boarded it all up without even having any hearing, no resolution or nothing. You got to do this because we got complaints from the neighbors. We're considering you a problem property because of complaints. That don't cut it. I'm an owner of the house. I run my house. And if I got it cluttered up like you're seeing all these pictures, these people that came in there destroyed my property. They threw my clothes away. I'm wearing all secondhand clothes. What am I supposed to do? Live in a city that's dysfunctional? Not me, because if I collected stuff, I didn't harm anyone. I didn't do anything damaging. It was just that the ordinance wants to keep order in the city so that you don't have problems. Now the mice got in there because I bring that up because I'm not hiding nothing. I killed every single one of those mice that I could get with traps. I did my job, just like Orkin would with their facilities as a commercial establishment. But when they broke in, I have no idea what they found because they didn't tell me. My daughter tried cooperating with them to get the problem solved, and they told her at the beginning, they lied to her according to what she told me. They wanted to find out what they're going to do, and then they're not paying for it. But they did. Who paid for those services of those people that they let in to throw all my goods away? They saved some things, but junk. I had a new floor that I had to be put in the back porch because my dad built a brand new facility on there years back. It's a solid new facility, not like the old house was. This thing is going way out of proportion. You people here are representing me and other people in the city. Why damage people? Why not work with them? I shouldn't have to pay $500 for I already know what I have to do. There's a hole in the ceiling that a raccoon must have got in. And when I did put a new roof on one side because it was deteriorating. I did my job. I paid $2,000 some for those contractors to come out there and replace that roof. And he says, there's a hole up here. I didn't even know it was up there. I have this bad leg and I haven't been checking things out like I normally would with a ladder. All these things I've tried to keep up with, and yet the neighbors sit there and harass me because they want to cause trouble. That isn't what you people are supposed to represent, troublemakers. You're supposed to represent organization and working with people to get back on track. I'm 80 years old. I just turned it in August. I'm getting better. My leg felt better yesterday, and thank God I prayed for relief. But the point is that this got me out of hand. That's why you saw all that trash and everything there. I bring things in, but I didn't bring it out. I made a commitment if this house is ever saved, I will not bring anything into that house unless it's observed by qualified technicians. But the point is, I'm not trying to sit there and get something against the ordinance that resolves trying to keep things in order. I'm trying to get things in order, and I had this bad leg. I had some trouble way back where I had a whooping cough, cold, and then I had a rash, and I had a pain in my side. I'm getting old, but I hold on to it, and I'm trying to resolve this. I tried to get a lawyer, and let me tell you, it's not easy. I had one.
Sir, I'm sorry. I appreciate the
I'm
the
trying
story,
to get
the narrative,
background of what this result.
Well, I appreciate it, and I apologize because I really should have given a.
I'm not resisting.
I understand that. I mean, I should have given a little bit of a rundown on what can and cannot be stated at these hearings and what we cannot consider. Where Mr. Fussy is not here, but
the house is in good condition.
So we're. I understand. So we're limited by law to only hearing sort of testimony, evidence, and facts that have already been presented at some of the previous hearings before. And so we may not consider anything additional. And so if you have additional facts regarding the allegations made with regard to the home, please let us know. But the additional narrative is not anything that we can consider by law. So in other words, the piece about the attorney and the health ailments, while I fully understand how frustrating that they may be, they're not relevant to this particular instance. So are there any additional facts that you seek to clarify for purposes of this hearing about your home, about the house?
See, I just want to get resolved. It's my house. I grew up there, and I took care of my mother, and I took it over. I'm living there and I'm 80 years old. I don't want to go on assisted living, apartments, all this here rigmarole. It's a house that I put my life into. I did my job all through the years, but I got off track with the circumstance of being.
I'm sorry, I'm his daughter, Ruth Bachboy. The point he's trying to make is this house was already inspected in 2009 and 2010, all these things, okay? Now they're coming up saying it's substandard when it was okayed back then and nothing's changed, okay? His electricity was put in. Dave Sawyer came out,
Is he living there now?
Yes.
Okay.
This, everything that they're saying is substandard, I don't know what they're talking about. A wall in the basement that's not up, that's because there was addition put on. They made him put a post down there. The guy came in and inspected it. The inside, I mean the outside walls, there's nothing wrong with the outside walls. The inside walls need to be cleaned, redone. Everything needs to be clean, redone. Patched his roof where the water was leaking. The week after he had the roof done, they boarded his house up. He never had the opportunity to, they don't give you enough time to do anything. And then we were told in the beginning, completely different stuff by the inspector that broke in his house, that gave no warning, no letter, no nothing, just busted in and boarded it up. And then when the crew was hired, we were never notified. I told them all along there was money in that house. Nobody gave us the opportunity to go in and get it. They took it from a cupboard that was perfect. No mice, $2,000 cash, their social security card, his Medicare card. Who speaks for that? The city hired that crew. They didn't give us the opportunity to do the right thing. Instead, everything, nobody wants to listen to nothing. Everything in that house was inspected before, as far as structural goes. So whatever they're writing up in there because of the roof, the electricity, the heating, all this stuff was inspected before. And they're trying to use that as the reason why. Or because of storing paint. It's not even nothing flammable. They put it up into in the kitchen, this little closet thing. It's not even the stuff. And then as far as the nuisance condition, that's because of constant neighbors that have been calling for all these years. They vandalize a car, punching his tires out, and then calls the inspector. That went out for years. Busting his taillights out, calling up saying the tires are flat, throwing stuff in his yard. The inspector comes out, charges him, and takes it. Because the neighbor behind him, because they don't like my father, because he's a single man, and he doesn't look, normal or whatever. He just minds his own business. He doesn't cause anybody else problems. The stuff that they're saying is substandard was exactly like that when they're in that house in 2010. Nothing has changed.
Mr. Chair. Thank you. Maybe that you could sit down for a moment and we could have the inspector go through the photographs, because really I think the only way we can judge whether or not this property is a nuisance and there should be a social service intervention is by looking at it sounds like 5 tons of garbage that were taken out of. Please don't speak. Please don't speak back to me. Just sit down.
I want to ask you something. The stuff was taken out of his garage.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I can't.
We're not going to go back and forth.
Some
It
form
was
of
taken
order.
out of his garage, which was.
I appreciate that. You'll have another chance if there's anything additional to clarify.
So perhaps the inspector could bring up the pictures on a page-by-page basis and explain how you were called to be there in the first place and how many times you've been out there and what led to the removal of all of the junk.
Mr. Chair and Madam Chair, I do want to add, maybe while the inspector is preparing that report, I have spoken with a colleague in my office who's worked closely on this case, and I believe the record reflects probably understandably so, that it has not just been the regulatory staff of the city that has been involved with this property for a number of years, but certainly social service agencies have been contacted. We've spoken with attorneys and representatives for their families for months and years. And so I can understand that inclination, and certainly we understand that there are greater maybe issues or factors leading into this, but it's a matter that I think the record reflects has gone on simply for too long.
Mr. Fussy, there was a statement made regarding the inspection taking place in 2010, and then how nothing has changed since then. Can you elaborate on that?
Mr. Vice Chair, I can't. Again, I haven't been intimately involved with this case. I believe the inspectors may be able to speak about when the individual outstanding orders were issued. And again, the outstanding orders form one of the bases in which this clearly classifies as a nuisance structure, but there are other bases as well in which this classifies as a nuisance structure, but I'll leave that to
Mr. Chair, Mr. Fussy, I don't have my computer in front of me, but any person with a computer can pull up the orders record. And perhaps Ms. Keller can do that and put that on the screen so we can also see. It's just not possible that the neighbors are at fault here for calling in orders given the number of orders here. That would be all they do instead of work. Why don't we get a list of the order records and go through the photographs, and we can make a determination whether or not we believe this house is a nuisance. And it sounds like perhaps your father could live with you given that he's unable to complete the renovation on any kind of timeline. This wasn't a question of agreed to a timeline and missed it.
Does staff have some of the orders? Do we have a list of the orders that we can put up on the screen?
There were 167 orders. There have been 199 orders on this house.
Okay.
Okay, so we're looking at orders from 2017, it looks like. I'm looking up above. It looks like 199 orders in total, 26 of them open. So it looks like there were a series of inspections in 2010, but it's dating back to 2009. It looks like it's in 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 as well. Am I reading that right, or?
The status of enforce, Mr. Chair, is indicative that those are the open orders.
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
The enforce status indicates these are the open orders. The violations are so the enforced status is the open violations, and then the violation itself, as in the case of the order that the violation I'm looking at right now or pointing to is repair or replace roof. It's in an enforced status. It was initiated on October 3rd, 2016. And its original due date was November 2nd.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Very much appreciated. Mr. Fussy, is this in this public hearing? Can we hear from representatives beyond the owner, or is a nuisance law limited to the owner and/or their representative?
Mr. Vice Chair, it's technically not a public hearing. This is a evidentiary hearing in which the parties can speak. Certainly the neighbors have been solicited for their opinions, and those are part of the record, some of the impact statements, but the testimony should be limited to the parties and the parties' direct representatives.
Understood. Understood. So the request at this point has been made for the property to be refurbished, and it will cost somewhere in the range of 60 to 90,000.
Correct.
Okay. And when the request to refurbish has been made, what has been the response from the parties at this point?
The nuisance condition process review panel had asked the owner to, because the property is condemned, get a code compliance report. Where the
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand what you were saying.
The owner was required to get a code compliance report where they
Code compliance report. Okay.
Yes. They send out 4 inspectors, a building, mechanical, plumbing, and a housing inspector, and they put together a report of what needs to be done to bring the house back to the current codes.
Okay.
He was asked to do that. He refused to do that. He was asked to come forward with financing, prove that he has the funds to do it. That was not done. We had the navigation program had approached him to help him with some of this, and he basically turned away their help. And
Well, now it does.
I'm the owner of the house, and that, when he's speaking about legalities, I have the right to get a permit.
All right. So I'm gonna close the hearing at this point, and thank you, staff. I appreciate your time. You know, this is obviously a difficult situation, and I have a great deal of sympathy for the fact that the owner's parents grew up have lived in the home. He has obviously lived in the home, and there's been health ailments and a series of difficulties that have led to the present circumstances. But we have to deal in the present circumstances by law. And under the law, we can only look as to whether the property is a nuisance. And based on the findings that we've seen, based on the 169 some odd orders, and based on the photographs that we've been looking at for the past 20 minutes here, it is a bit of a health hazard. And it is concerning that the neighborhood would have to deal with this, and so I would move the staff recommendation. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in approval, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. That item passes. Madam Chair.
Seeing no further business before us, we are adjourned.